Listen, that's one, that's two, and that's three. That's all three of us. That's the first time it's happened in God knows how long. The boys are back in town, and it's right before college football starts. This could not be planned any better. We're back full force officially for college football.
Yes, we are.
It's about
2 weeks. 2 weeks.
I'm so
It's
excited.
spicy, boys. Fall camp.
Fall
It's
camp.
happening.
Things are happening. You know, everyone keeps saying how bad Caleb Williams is playing, so that's great.
You're gonna
Even
find
though,
out.
even though he's played like 3 snaps, it's whatever. We're back with our list here. Way too early, top 25. Now we're gonna talk just for 2 seconds. Yes, we know the college football coaches poll was released on USA Today. It's terrible. I think we all agree that teams are way higher than they should be, but we are still going based off of ESPN's way too early top 25 since the AP official poll has yet to be released. Last time we finished off with Michigan. Now at number 9, they're in-state rivals, the Michigan State Spartans.
Good old freaking Sparty. Alec, you know what? We haven't seen you. You haven't been on in a while. Kick us off. Let us know what you think of the good old Big Ten Spartans.
Oh boy! Oh, so I'm so excited to be back first and foremost. And like I said, everyone's back. College football's around the corner. We love it. It's getting heated. And I'll start off by saying, I don't think Michigan State's going to be all that great this year. They might have a decent team. I don't think the record's going to be all that great. I mean, you're looking at, I believe they go to Washington, the non-conference. They play directional Michigan schools for their other 2 non-con games. But I suppose my question for you guys is, how good do we think they were last year? They were good, but were they good because of Kenneth Walker? Because looking back at their games, man, I don't believe their offensive line was actually all that great. Kenneth Walker just made some crazy, crazy plays last year. Add that in with, we talked about it at length, their pass defense was one of the historically horrible pass defenses in college football. Does that get any better? It might get a little better, but they don't have Kenneth Walker. They lost Jalen Naylor. I think Peyton Thorne's okay, but I just don't see this team doing anything. I think the ceiling's 8-4. I think their ceiling is legitimately 8-4, and I think 7-5 is more likely.
I mean, Alec, you hit the nail on the head. Was it Michigan State that was good last year, or was it their Heisman level running back just carrying them through every game? And obviously, the latter is the more correct response here. If you were to watch their biggest win last year against Michigan, like they don't win that game with Kenneth Walker's not breaking off like 2 60-yard runs. That's just not gonna. They're not gonna be even close in that game. And I want to bring up a 5-game stretch here. So obviously, you mentioned the Washington game at Washington. Is Washington a great football team? Not really, but you're playing on the West Coast. It's probably going to be rainy because it always is. And Washington is a moderately electric West Coast environment. But then when you start Big Ten play, you got Minnesota, who I think we all think is a possible sleeper here. Now that Ibrahim is going to be hopefully fully healthy this year. I mean, he didn't have him all year last year. The one game I think he played, he did dominantly against.
They're beating Ohio State.
Yeah, they were beating Ohio State with him. So you have Minnesota. Then you go to Maryland, another team that I think could be a possible sleeper. Tulia Tagovailoa is a great quarterback, and that team in general is at least very sound. And you're playing them away. Ohio State, the best team in the Big Ten. I think undisputed best team in the Big Ten. Then Wisconsin. Then you have to play at Michigan.
That's an absolute meat grinder of a schedule right there.
And don't forget, you also get to finish your year off at Penn State.
So that's 6 games right there. 6 games that I bet by the time they're played, max are going to be favored in 3 of them.
Yeah,
maximum.
I mean, I would not have them favored in the Minnesota game because by that time, I think they could be 3-0, but I think they're barely getting out with a win against Washington. And I think by that time, Minnesota's looked upon as a team that could win the Big Ten West. I don't have them favored there. I could see them favored against Maryland. Definitely not favored against Ohio State, Wisconsin, or Michigan. And I don't have them favored against Penn State either. So there's 5 games that they're not favored in right there. And I don't think they'll pull out any upsets.
I'm so glad you guys brought up the Washington game because I was looking at that game. I was like, that is the 3rd game of the season. You are going to the West Coast. It is going to be a night game, nationally televised. Everyone's got the eyes on you. You lose Kenneth Walker. Alex, just like you said, you lose Naylor. Their passing defense was atrocious. They bring no one in from the transfer window for their secondary. Most of it was just for their offensive line. And those guys weren't even that good that they're bringing in. I don't know how their recruiting is for this upcoming season, but you guys, especially you said it too, with that 5-game stretch, that is grueling. But even after Michigan, right after Michigan, the week after, you are going to play Brett Bielema in Illinois. I mean, that's probably back-to-back losses right there.
They'll dog you.
I mean,
yeah.
The way Bielema plays, he'll punch you in the face 900 times in a game.
Now, I'm not sure because I think you and I had this conversation off the podcast at one point. So after the Illinois game, they have 2 home games before they go to Penn State. Versus Rutgers versus IU. Now, we had the conversation. Is Penix Jr. back after his multiple ACL injuries?
He left.
Oh, he left?
He's on a West Coast team. He's in a Pac-12 team. I forget which team he's on.
Who's the quarterback now for IU?
Transfer from Missouri, Bazelak. He's a good quarterback at Mizzou. It's just a matter of.
I'm not saying the Rutgers are going to win, but Rutgers have had those games where they will kind of just.
Sorry, Brandon. Penix is playing for a team we've already mentioned. He's playing for the Washington Huskies.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
Well, there you go. I mean, good Lord. But I'm not saying the Rutgers are a complete wash. I would say watch out for that game. Like I said, Rutgers always has a sneaky game where they have a top-tier Big Ten school coming into town. They'll always play them tough. IU's always a tough out, no matter what type of quarterback is on the field, but at the same time, you guys both hit the nail on the head. I'm actually going to go at 6-6. Michigan State falls out of the top 25, 6-6. They just squeak out for your bad boy lawnmowers bowl in December. And I would say the ceiling is probably 7-5.
Yeah, I'll go ceiling 7-5. Floor 5-7, and I'm going to lean more towards the floor here. Brandon, I think you made a point that I did not think of before, and then in that Illinois game. Look, I don't trust Michigan that much, but I sure as hell trust them a lot more than I do Michigan State. And if you're coming off a loss at Michigan and then you're going to Champaign against Brett Bielema, who, since he was at Wisconsin, is a guy who's going to run it down your throat and tire you within the first quarter of the game, they're not built for that, and they're gonna get. And I see them losing that, so I'm gonna go 5-7 next year for Michigan State. But let's not start pooping on Mel Tucker because he had one bad season after a contract year, a major contract. Michigan State was built for last year. Let them build more recruiting over and over again.
You know, I know Alec has great experience with Brett Bielema as a Hawkeyes fan. So he knows what Illinois brings to the table.
And you also mentioned Rutgers. I mean, ever since Greg Schiano's got there, they have improved drastically. I mean, the win total's not so much, but quality of play is definitely a lot better than it's ever been.
They're gonna have. They're just gonna have a problem with
just about everyone.
Well, I agree. They play hard. Last year, crazy stat, their defense actually was the second most efficient in the conference, which is wild to think about. But they lose anything that was serviceable on offense. I think that Rutgers will get to where they can be contending for bowl games under Schiano. I don't think it'll be this year. So in connecting it back to Michigan State, if I'm looking at the schedule, they're going to beat Western Michigan. They're going to beat Akron. I'm going to give them the Washington game as well, just because I believe that the Big Ten is just better than the Pac-12, first off, and I just think they're going to eke it out. Minnesota at home. Toss-up game. I think Minnesota takes that one. I hope they don't for Iowa's sake, but let's still have them on 3. At Maryland, I think they're losing 2. People are shitting on Maryland for getting that Dante Demas was knocked out of the Iowa game early for the season when Maryland was hot on offense. They have so many weapons. Their problem is if they get into a game against like a Penn State and Iowa, Wisconsin, any team that just wants to possess the ball, they get absolutely mollywopped. Michigan State, we just said, we don't know if they have the ability to do that this year. So I'm going to give them a loss there. So they're still sitting on only 3 wins. Ohio State, they're not winning that one. Wisconsin, they're not winning that one. Michigan, at Michigan, they've done it before. They're not going to do it this year. I'll give them Illinois, but if they've lost that many games in a row, yeah, they could lose that damn game too. Well, that's 4. Then I'll give them Rutgers. I'll give them IU. Damn. That's 6 wins. That's 6 wins. And I'm gonna absolute max ceiling, like I said, 8-4, 6-6 or 7-5 more likely. Yeah.
All right. I mean,
Kellen, but
go ahead.
no, I was just going to say before we move on, because we are sticking with Big Ten right now as we're talking about Michigan State. Alec, I want you to kind of tell the people what you have going on with your Hawkeye Nation.
Holy smokes. Yeah, folks, I am now writing for SB Nation's Iowa Hawkeyes site. It's called Blackheart Gold Pants. I am under the author name of Kicker 32 because I love specialists. Specialists are the best part of football, kicking, punting, all of it. So if you want a little laugh, if you want some informative jargon about the Iowa Hawkeyes, and we'll be spitting out some Big Ten stuff as well, go over to Blackheart Gold Pants. Just give us a click. My articles will normally have some funny videos in them. I have 2 out there right now discussing how the West is going to be won. It's a little play on an old Western movie. And yeah, it's good stuff. We got a great group, lots of big plans, lots of podcasts coming out there. I'm going to be with the boys here every Wednesday. So yeah, head on over. Blackheart Gold Pants, SB Nations. Good stuff.
Also, the hatred of Nebraska does not stop here. It continues there as well.
Oh, it absolutely continues. I'm so excited. It absolutely continues.
So we move
Kellen,
to
are we at
team-
number 8 right now?
We're at number 8, team me and Brandon have disagreed on for months heavily. We moved to the ACC with the NC State Wolfpack.
Oh my God. Please tell me. Can I start this off?
Go ahead.
Please. Oh, you are. Oh, man. NC State, the Wolfpack. Bringing back the one and only quarterback who will be in the running for the Heisman, Devin Leary. I will tell you this right now. You should know the name right now. They're returning 8 offensive starters, 9 defensive starters, which is huge. They do have Clemson in the same division. They don't play Clemson until the 3rd week. But the nice thing is, if you've seen the movie The Longest Yard, what is the little advice Adam Sandler gives to the warden before they start off their little season? You get 3 cupcake games to beat someone up, and then you just get ready for when you actually get ready to play ball. And that's exactly what NC State's going to do. They have Clemson coming to town, I believe, on the 4th week. Oh, no, they're at Clemson. But the first 4 games, Kellen, I know you've said it before. You like Texas Tech.
I do.
Texas Tech is sneaky. I understand that. But I have so much faith and trust in Devin Leary. It's insane. And I know you gave me the stat today. By the way, shout out to Burke Golf Course, Notre Dame University. Great 9-hole. You said they have not won. They had not, had a 10-win season in 20 years, 30 years?
Their entire history.
Never. The entirety of the program, Brandon.
This is the year they are getting 10 wins. I'm telling you that right now. Looking at their schedule, you cannot tell me they will not get 10 wins.
Alec, do you mind if I intrude here?
But I'm going to say right now they go 10-2, 10-2. Their ceiling 11-1. The bottom 8-4.
Okay. Now, Brandon, I'm gonna ask you some questions here. Little lawyer leading questions. What is the most important position on the offensive line?
Your blindside blocker.
Your tackle, right? Who was NC State's tackle last year? Their star
Ike
tackle,
McQuanu.
Ike Ekwonu.
He's
He's
gone.
gone. Okay. Now, old Dennis Leary, the actor from Spider-Man, when you're missing your best offensive lineman and there clearly is no view as a suitable replacement, when you have a guy as dominant as him, you're going to get pressured a hell of a lot more, specifically on that side. I don't trust him anyway, 2. And 3, you play Clemson at Clemson, there's a loss. You play Virginia Tech, there's a loss. You play Wake Forest. Look,
I'll let you finish your segment.
Okay. You play Boston College. Assuming Boston College is fully healthy with Phil Yurkovich, there's a loss. And I think you lose at North Carolina as well under Mike Brown. Let's not let last year taint us. Mike Brown knows how to coach. He knows how to recruit. There's 4 losses right there. It's an 8-4 football team that's not going to play in their conference championship. They'll finish 3rd in their division behind Clemson and Miami.
Oh, hold on.
First off, Miami's in a different division, so
you just literally earlier today you told me they were in the same division.
I thought they were too, so that's my.
Okay, so then I'm saying ACC championship, Miami, Clemson.
Oh, hold on a second. So I did not know this about their schedule. I'm W and Ling their schedule right now as you guys are talking, because my initial reaction is no, they're not winning 10 games.
Yes, they are.
They're not. No, that's my initial reaction. I'm sticking.
No, I know.
But how in the hell they have 8 home games? How do you end up with 4 road games for an entire season? And 2, if you're going to play Clemson, you'd rather play them on the road. Honestly, they beat them last year, but, a game that you're probably most likely to lose on your schedule, throw that one on the road, then another one at home that you could win. They somehow get Florida State, Vatech, Wake Forest, Boston College all at home. Now, here's the kicker. They have to beat all of those teams, which I'm with Kellen. Vatech is no pushover.
No, Brent Pry, new head coach, has done a lot in the transfer portal and recruiting. Ex-Penn State defensive coordinator. The man knows how to coach a defense.
I will say, though, they get Virginia Tech they have a bye before. Virginia Tech does not, and the game is on a Thursday. That's kind of horse crap. Somebody wrote the schedule out trying to get them 10 wins. Then you have Wake Forest, which we just discussed today. It's no longer the same Wake Forest team with the injury to Hartman. So there's a little bit of luck there for NC State. I think they lose at Louisville. I think that's going to be a loss.
Ooh.
And then a revenge game for North Carolina from last year, rivalry game at UNC. I think if we're saying a loss at Clemson, they're going to be 4-0 going into that game. They get Florida State at home. If that was on the road, I'd say they can take that one, but Florida State is not disciplined in any shape or form. At Syracuse could be tough, but they're going to be down. Yeah, I think it's going to be, do they beat Virginia Tech, or can they get 2 of?
Can I ask your position on why you think Louisville will win?
Just it's away. I don't believe that NC State they're going to trip somewhere.
Well, also, I don't see a poise in NC State that you see in a team that goes 10-2 or 11-1. I don't see any, especially in the offense. Defense, that defense is good, but they also lost a lot of people on the defensive end. 1 and 2. Look, the offense is going to be struggling in general.
Yes, that's the thing. Devin Leary is a great quarterback, but it's not like their offense is predicated on just letting the dude carry the team. They like to try and run the ball, and they suck at running the football.
And they're not going to be any better because they lost their best tackle.
Yeah, they are they're kind of like, I hate to do this to any other offense. They're kind of like Iowa in a way where they're trying to pound the rock, but they're not good at pounding the rock. The biggest difference is they have a quarterback who could sling it. So if they turn to just letting this dude just let loose, that'd be the only way I see them getting the 10 wins. But they're kind of stubborn. I don't see them doing that.
Final
So
record
what are we
prediction.
at? Like 10-2. Kellen, you're at what?
I like to give a range, so I'm gonna go 8-4, 9-3.
Yeah, I think they're not falling below 8-4. They're a very high floor team. I just don't think that they've never gotten 10-2. This is like Iowa State last year. Everything is set up in front of you. And Iowa State had a better team, mind you. If these two teams were playing, I think they'd win. Everything's set up in front of you. It looks so just, of course, you're going to win your 10 games for the first time ever.
Then they tie their shoes together and faceplant.
Yeah, just shit happens. Weird shit happens.
Oh, snap, Kellen. Are we moving on to the next one?
Oh, I mean, I see no reason not to.
Well,
Brandon, it's your team.
we are from South Bend, Indiana, boys, and you know the Freeman hype is real around here. Notre Dame's at number 7. Kellen and I have had our big arguments off air and at family functions and over the phone. I have been ripped new assholes completely by Kellen. And you know what? I try to dish it right back, but it's whatever. It's whatever. Notre Dame, folks, number 7, 11-2 last year, 7 returning offensive starters, 7 defensive and 1 special teams. Key departures, well, obviously, is your Kyle Hamilton, best safety in the draft. Kyron Williams, excuse me, Drew White, Kurt Heinisch, Myron Tagovailoa Amosa. But I know we had a conversation when I brought the news to both of you guys during the transfer portal window. The big pickup in the offseason, Mr. Brandon Joseph, safety from Northwestern, actually was recruited by Notre Dame before he signed with Northwestern, actually. And the reason why, Kyle Hamilton. But everyone's talking about it, boys. That is 2 weeks away. They go to the Horseshoe in Columbus, week 1 night game, ABC, primetime football. Alec, you and I had a little bit of a discussion today. I'm anxious to hear your full take on that first game. Their schedule, pretty damn tough this year for the Irish. I will say that, honestly.
Goddamn
Kellen,
time.
Kellen, I'm going to say this right now with confidence. They will go 10-2. They will not lose more than 3 games. They will. I think their floor is 9-3 with first year as Marcus Freeman. The ceiling, I'm going to stay at 10-2, but they do make a New Year's Six bowl.
I am at 10-2. They make a New Year's Six bowl. I don't see that happening at 10-2. I don't see that happening at 10-2 when you lose to 2
best
top 10
offensive
teams.
line in college football.
They've had the best offensive line in college football for 6 years, and that hasn't gotten them really anything. No,
Brian Kelly's gone.
So I'm not seeing this year any change from last year, except the schedule is just a hell of a lot harder. And I'm not going to sit here and say the Marcus Freeman hype is not real. It is. The dude can recruit, and he seems like a genuinely nice guy, and he will win Notre Dame football games. It will not be this year. Notre Dame has to play at Ohio State week 1. They're going to get stomped by the best offense in college football and a much improved defense under the tutelage of Oklahoma State's ex-defensive coordinator. They have to play Clemson at home. I have said, Brandon, you disagree with me. Clemson is going to be so much more improved than last year. The only glaring issue last year was offensive production due to quarterback play. May I remind you, DJU was injured for 8 weeks with a shoulder injury. They also have Cade Klubnik, a 5-star quarterback, who is the second best recruited quarterback since the last 7 years. I think that's what the range was I saw, only behind Trevor Lawrence. They have the best defensive line in the country. They have a great defense in general. Great secondary. If you've seen clips, they train with boxing gloves on their hand to prevent holding. Big brain by Dabo. And not to mention, they have one of the best coaches in college football in Dabo Swinney, who knows how to win. So they will not win that game. And USC. People are saying that USC does not deserve to have all this praise. They deserve it because they have the best transfer portal where they brought in 9 starters for this next season, pretty much bringing most of Oklahoma's offensive production, including Jordan Addison from Pittsburgh. USC will beat Notre Dame. And the one game that I'm looking at that many people are saying Notre Dame's going to win because it's the Shamrock Series, and that's what they always do. They will lose to BYU in Las Vegas. It's pretty much a home game for BYU, and BYU has the second highest retention rate from last year at 88%, and they were 10-3 last year.
I will say, out of the two losses that I'm saying for Notre Dame will be Ohio State, and just like you said, it will either be BYU or USC. Those are my.
Not Clemson. I just don't. I just don't see why. You really don't supply a whole lot of information on that for some reason.
I don't like Clemson.
But you can't just say you don't like it.
I get it. DJU was hurt most of the year last year, but his production has been horrible. He's really not that good of a quarterback.
And I've supplied the other information. If he's not good, they have the second best quarterback recruited in the last 7 years, ready to play.
And that's fine. And look what happened when they brought in a top tier quarterback. They lost to the Irish when DJU came in.
His very first start ever, by the way, and it was a loss.
Hey, you're top tier quarterback, man. You got to be ready for football.
Double overtime, and was also missing their captain on the defense. Just saying. Clemson's a far better program than Notre Dame is.
But I will say, though, yes, you make a good point that it could be a BYU home game, but ticket sales are like 80-20 right now in favor of Notre Dame.
Okay. I still think BYU wins.
Alec, it's your turn.
So, I've waffled back and forth. I think Notre Dame has been the team I've gone back and forth the most with this preseason. I go from points of, man, I love what Marcus Freeman's bringing energy-wise to the program. And I think, man, but all that energy is in a bunch of young guys that, like 2 years from now, hell, look out. Hardcore. Notre Dame's coming. And I think, oh, man, what are they going to do at quarterback? It's just so unproven. We don't know. Then I go, but their offensive line is so good. Joe Alt is so good. I still wish he was a Hawkeye. It all starts, as we said, with the little reunion for Freeman at the shoe. And this game is just the epitome of how I feel about Notre Dame's whole season. And this is what I'll say. I think Notre Dame is going 9-3. If my life depended on it, they'd be 9-3. I think 10-2 is super, super accessible. I think they lose at Ohio State. And the thing is about this game, I don't know what I want to think of more, because Ohio State, anywhere Jim Knowles has gone, it's always been a struggle for that school the first year to do well defensively, but then he's never gone to a school that has the elite dudes that Ohio State does for his first year. So maybe that cancels out. But Ohio State's learning something new. Notre Dame's learning something new on defense, which I think their D is going to be elite. But recently, Brandon, we were talking today, I am super nervous for them after hearing Al Golden say this past week that their plan is just to allow their linebackers to read what's going on in front of them and have more just say in how the play happens, how to get the defense set, rather than a coach sending in a direct assignments from the sideline. That's a tough ask against what we all believe is the best offense in the country. Your very first time stepping on the field. Like, talent aside, that is insanely hard. Like, they could be playing Iowa's damn offense and have trouble with it for a quarter or two. Yeah. We're not talking about Smith and Jigba, Harrison Jr., and all the other freaking first-round NFL receivers Ohio State's recruited over the last couple of years. Travion Henderson running the ball. It's insane. And so the one thing I trust more so in that game is Ohio State's offense. I think Ohio State wins. So loss right off the bat. I think they beat BYU. I don't think they'll have a problem there. I think they'll be okay. I think they beat Clemson, because by November, I think that game sets up perfect. It could be freezing cold here. They're from South Carolina. By that time, Notre Dame's defense has had 8-9 games to play. They'll be fine there. Hopefully they have some form of like idea of what they're doing with quarterback. I think they could lose to USC just because, like you guys said, hell, if there were 7-on-7 tournament, Ohio State and USC would be playing each other in the championship. It's just, can USC figure out what they're doing along the damn lines of scrimmage? I don't trust that, so I'm going to give Notre Dame the win there, and I'm actually changing my mind. They're going to go 10-2, and I think their other loss is going to be at North Carolina.
Now, would that constitute a New Year's Six bowl if they go 10-2? Depending on what happens.
Depending on the team, if they beat the teams Alex says they're going to beat, there'll be a New Year's Six bowl game.
There'll be a New Year's Six bowl team because their losses. I only think North Carolina is a loss because, again, it's early enough in the season that if they're still learning anything, especially at quarterback, they could trip up on the road there. Like I think it could just happen. But then if they go 10-2, that means they win out with. They won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games in a row. BYU, Clemson, and USC are on there. Plus Navy's kind of tough, and Boston College is they're a decent team, like Kellen said with Jurkovic. So I think they would be a New Year's Six bowl game, but I just think they struggle early, and I hope South Bend gives Freeman some leash there. Because I think they're going to be really good. I think it'd be ridiculous not to give them a little bit of time.
And this is what I hate about 90% of Notre Dame fans. I won't say 90 because there are 10% people I know. A lot of them are fine, but you'll go to Notre Dame game and there is no damn atmosphere because the entire stadium's full of 90-year-old men and women.
This is a recurring problem.
Because it annoys me because you hear all these passionate Notre Dame fans. We're the fucking best. Oh my God. And you never show up to any of the games. That's partially Notre Dame's fault because most of the tickets are way more expensive than they should be. The stadium has no atmosphere. The only help Notre Dame gets is that it's cold as hell here during the November months. That's really it. The allure that used to be at Notre Dame football games, I remember when I was younger, you go to like a Pittsburgh game, a USC game. That could be because a lot of the rivalry games that we used to have, we don't play anymore, like Michigan and Michigan State and Purdue. But there was, you felt the energy. You don't feel it anymore. Me and Brandon were at a Purdue game last year. It was quiet for 3/4 of the game. Like, there's just no atmosphere there. So I can't trust them at home. I can't trust them away because since 2012, they haven't found a quarterback I think they can win with. That's the one issue. They've had a great offensive line for so long, but that hasn't gotten them to beat big teams. It hasn't gotten them to beat Alabama. That hasn't gotten them to beat a fully healthy Clemson. It's hard for me to trust them, especially with the first-year head coach. You're losing your best safety, one like an athletic phenom, and you have 2 quarterbacks, none of which I can trust for a full game against a competent defense. And like I mentioned, you have BYU, who has 88% retention rate from last year. They were 10-3 last year. You can assume they will perform better. And they have Jaron Hall at quarterback, who is a guy who many believe could make a Heisman top 5 push.
I will say Buckner provides that dual threat more than Ian Book did, and Ian Book was pretty good back in the pocket.
I look at the 2 games Buckner played for Notre Dame, and he threw like 4 interceptions on some horrible decisions.
And then to top that off too, it's like, okay, so we're already saying we don't believe in Buckner to the extent of some past quarterbacks. And who the hell is he going to throw it to on the outside? Who's your dude? Who's the dude out there? Like that's another big thing they're going to have to figure out because they keep missing on these big receiver commits, which is so odd. Like when
they got some big ones though. They have to Merriweather
transfer.
Is he playing this year?
Yeah, he's in the rotation to be one of the starting receivers. It's Braden Lindsey, Lorenzo Styles, who I think is a big body receiver like a Miles Boykin.
I look at those guys.
But at the same time, who's going to guard Michael Mayer for crying out loud? The dude put on 20 more pounds.
That's fine. But if you don't have anyone to throw it on the outside, he's bracketed, and then where do you go?
And 2, you're playing teams with some of the most elite linebackers in the nation. You're playing Ohio State, who last year underperformed, but frankly, their defensive coordinators were terrible. And Alec, you mentioned they bring in, I can't remember his name. What's his name? Oklahoma State's. You bring him in, and he takes 3 stars at Oklahoma State, a couple 4-stars, and makes them a top 5 defense in the nation. Tell me he can't at least get a top 20 defense this year. Look, that's a 45-21 victory for Ohio State. And you mentioned these wide receivers. I look at Tobias Merriweather. He is no different than many of the guys Notre Dame has brought in these past years, where you bring in this 6'5", 245 guy. He doesn't get separation. He doesn't get any separation. So almost every ball you throw up is 50-50. And you got to hope he comes down with it. And you're playing against these defenses with higher elevated cornerbacks than Nevada that you normally play every year. I look at it and I can't trust it, because college football wide receivers are about speed and separation and taking a dig route, breaking your cornerback's ankles, and going with it. That's why Ohio State wins. That's why Alabama wins. That's why Clemson used to win. That's why they're going to win again.
It's just it is just odd though, because even the bad Notre Dame teams growing up had elite receiver talent. I mean, they had really. Michael Floyd was on Notre Dame forever, just an absolute stud.
Golden Tate,
Will Fuller. I mean, then you
Jeff
go
Smarja,
Stovall, Rima McKnight, Arnaz Bet. Like, there are tons of top end receiver talent, and Notre Dame keeps striking out. Now they've gotten a couple in the last class, but again, they're not here to help.
No, they're not here to help. And like I said, they remind me of the mediocre wide receivers that we've seen in the past, where it's just they get big bodies and throw 50-50 balls to them.
Yeah, you can have that big body dude on the outside. That's fine. But like I said, you need, and I hate to say this because these dudes just don't grow on trees. You need kind of like again, it's going to sound stupid, your Michael Thomas-y body type. Like a 6 foot 6'1", just
look
kind of do all.
If they could pull in, I hate to bring Penn State in this, but if they could pull in a Jahan Dotson type player who just
David Bell, Indiana.
They have speed and they got verts. Notre Dame really doesn't have any speed in the past 10 years when I think of wide receivers.
They got Lindsey's fast, but it's like he's not really like a true receiver.
Listen, they use Lindsey on those jet sweeps. That's what they use him for. And occasionally they'll throw him in punt returns and whatnot. But the guy I keep thinking of, as you are saying about the Michael Thomas situation, who was the guy they almost relied on to get them a first down? That was Avery Davis, who was coming back, 6-year senior.
But he's hurt. Like, I love Avery Davis. Like, he had such a nasty injury. Can he be the same dude? And we're talking, and Brandon, we're talking about Notre Dame here trying to get back to the top of football. Avery Davis is not the guy they can have being that guy.
Well, I understand. We're speaking of Avery Davis, but we still also can't confirm that either of these two quarterbacks are going to be consistently accurate and efficient with their throws.
Well, I think they can be accurate. I just don't think they have.
I don't know.
Down the field,
we see Drew Pine against Wisconsin. He had a couple good plays, but there was questionably overthrown balls to guys who he could have brought it into the pocket with. And Tyler Buckner, I point out the Cincinnati game where he looked horrible.
They can't throw it down the field, and that's, again, they could theoretically win this Ohio State game. If number one, if Mayer has like 150 receiving yards, which Ohio State struggles to defend tight ends all the time, that could be big. But that's going to take vertical routes of some kind. Same thing with Clemson. Same thing with BYU. You're probably going to need to show something, because if teams are just able to stack the box against you, I mean, you can have the greatest O-line in the world, and if you're playing like 5-6 on 8, it's tough. It's really tough.
I guess, can they play like Utah in the Rose Bowl last year? I don't think they have a quarterback good enough like Cam Rising to bring that production. Cam Rising was out of his mind, and they also had, I can't remember his name. He was the Utah return man who was going insane last year. He kept him in 5 games. He was the reason they were even close sometimes. When I look at Notre Dame, I just don't see that electric speed demon on the offensive end that they need. I mean, you lose Kyron Williams, a guy who pretty much solidified your win over North Carolina last year with that crazy 99-yard run. I just don't see a solid first-class offensive talent on the outside that Notre Dame needs to contend against these teams.
You want to put Chris Tyree in that category?
No, I would not put Chris Tyree. He's good.
If he shows it.
And you look at Chris Tyree, that he had one return against Wisconsin. You look at the highlight; he's not blowing by everyone in that highlight.
He's fast. He's really freaking fast.
I was at the game. I was there.
Dude,
I saw it firsthand. Is he fast? Yes, but I don't see him being a guy who's gonna you need someone who you can rely on when it matters most. And I cannot rely on.
Well, that's fine.
Chris Tyree.
He doesn't have enough. He hasn't had to be the dude yet. That's fine. Totally understand.
What I will say, the two freshman names to look out for is Merriweather and Jalen Sneed.
Hey, if they can come through and be a threat, like an actual threat
That's on the offensive end.
Jalen Sneed, 5-star linebacker, who will be starting along with one of my favorite Notre Dame players as recently as was it Bo Bauer, freaking caveman looking dude.
Okay, but
how many times did you see him all over the field last year?
Okay,
they are learning a new system, Brandon.
No, I completely understand.
Notre Dame for the last decade has had a top 5 defense. They've had the number 1 offensive line. That hasn't gotten them anywhere. They need the dude. We've mentioned it multiple times. Every team that's going to win needs to have the dude. Ohio State has 3 dudes. Alabama has 4 dudes. I can't think of the dude for Notre Dame.
CJ Carr, class 2024.
But that's the thing. That's not this year. I can see. I'm saying 2-3 years from now, I could see Notre Dame being in that 0.1% of college football. But right now, they're only in the 2% of college football. Still very good, but they're just not there yet. And it just so happens that this year they're playing 3.1% of college football. And Brandon's gone.
That's fair.
Number 6.
The team that will be the first Pac-12 team since was it Washington? To make the CFP playoff, the Utah Utes.
They are winning the Pac-12 this year. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah.
Alec?
The only competition I think is USC because of how much talent they brought in. I do peek a quick look at Oregon, but they don't have Mario Cristobal. I think Mario Cristobal was the biggest reason for a majority of Oregon's success last year. And you look at Utah State, losing Devin Lloyd, and the Pew Sewell is really painful for your defense, especially a defense that was so injury-ridden last year and can't guarantee they're going to be fully healthy this year. But that offense, I mean, they were going shot for shot against Ohio State in the Rose Bowl last year, and the only guy that loses Britton Covey.
That was the return guy.
That was the return man. I was just about to say that. That's the only guy they lose. Was he? I mean, like I said, he kept him in a majority of the games last year, but I still think they'll do just fine without him. And they have the highest tenured head coach in college football, I believe, which is continuity is always great in college football. It'll only help them this year, especially in a Pac-12 that is lacking a lot of it.
Hey, what did you just say? The longest tenured coach?
I believe he is.
No, he is not.
If you're gonna give me the head coach of Iowa, look, I'm telling you right now, Josh Pate said that the head coach of Utah was the longest tenured head coach.
At one school or just in general? Because Kirk Ferentz is the one who's been at one school the longest.
How long has Kirk Ferentz been at Iowa?
Since 1999.
Jesus was born.
Iowa's had 2 coaches since the 70s.
Kyle Whittingham, let's see how long he's been at Utah for. Kyle Whittingham, 2004. But why? I think he's been at Utah in general since he's been at Utah since 1994.
Okay.
The only game I see the issue with is USC. I'm going to say that's the only game I be 6-0 when they face USC. They have no whatever. I have
And
no
they don't play
hesitation saying
Oregon
they're going
this
to
year.
beat. They do.
They
They're at
do?
Oregon, second to last
No,
game of the season.
I think I was thinking because I don't think USC plays Oregon this year. I think that's
But at the
what I
same
was thinking.
time, Oregon. I mean, I'm a huge Dante Moore fan out of Detroit. He was about to come to Notre Dame. Don't see that offense doing much in Eugene.
Not this year, at least.
They will start off 6-0, though. I think the Florida game's a snooze fest. I don't know why that's the first game of the season for Utah. I get it. You're playing an SEC team.
It's the
Florida was abysmal
Urban
last
Meyer
year.
Bowl.
Here's
But,
the
go
deal.
ahead.
I'll phrase this. So their over/under win total is 9. It's 9 flat. I think that's push city. I think they're winning 9 games. I think they're going to lose that first game, not because I think Florida's better, but it's so weird. Like it's such a weird first game. Having to play in the swamp in early September is going to be like the muggiest, hottest, crappiest place to play. I think that could really hurt Utah. Talking about kids not used to playing in that at all. It's going to be on ESPN, and the swamp's actually going to have some energy because Florida hasn't shit the bed yet. So I think Florida actually is going to win that game. I'm going to give them that. So there's a loss. They have to go again. They have to go to Arizona State before Arizona State screws up. I mean, they're not a great team, but they're just one of those teams that, like, you play them in the back end of the season, you're going to roll them like 56-10. That's a tough road game. Then you go at UCLA. I mean, UCLA's got a ton of momentum right now. They're excited. They're coming to the Big Ten. There's a new push for UCLA football and USC. Hell, going to freaking Pullman, Washington for the Washington State game. I think this is a tricky little schedule. I see 9-3. I don't know. And that 9-3, whoever that's against, that'll determine if they're going to the Pac-12 championship game, which if I had to put my money on, I'd say yes. But man, I just don't know. It's most talented team in my mind in the Pac-12. I would love to see them go undefeated. I love cheering and watching Utah football. You see this a lot of times. Teams have these great seasons, people coming back, and you just forget that these are all 18 to 21-year-old kids, and anything can happen.
They are one of the top teams poised to be in the college football playoff this year.
That just scares the hell out of me. That
A lot of expectations.
Scares the hell out of me.
And I'm glad you brought up Arizona State because I think, Kellen, you and I were talking about this a couple episodes ago. Herm Edwards is on like the hottest of the hot seats. I think if they don't start off the season well, he's gone by the 3rd or 4th game. So now you're going to play an Arizona State team with an interim head coach.
I don't think it'll be 3rd or 4th game. I don't think he's finishing the season. I don't even know if it matters if they're winning a bunch of games. I just think he's just gone.
Yeah. His one draw was, I know how to get you to the NFL because I was a head coach in the NFL, and he's gotten no one to the NFL. No, I'm just going to go through the games because you just went through them. I've said this, I think, a while ago. I do not trust Billy Napier at a big school like Florida. I just don't see him being a guy who's going to be that Power 5. I think he's built in suits, and his personality feels like that Group of 5 guy who will always be solid there. Like he could possibly make another Boise State-esque kind of squad dynasty. The only issue when I look at the schedule is that UCLA, then USC. That's the only place I am strongly concerned when I look at Utah's schedule. I see them dropping one of those games, whether that's UCLA or USC. I think if they lose to UCLA, they'll be on a revenge tour to get back and destroy USC. But if they beat UCLA, they're like, hey, we made it out of the woods. We just won a tough game, and then they'll get rocked by USC. And I look at Oregon. I think we all have the same concerns. We don't think Oregon's as strong as they were last year, and even then, they weren't the strongest form of Oregon we've seen in a while. I think Utah wins that one. I think they go to the Pac-12 championship. I think they win it. I think they're 12-1, and I think they do make a CFP playoff berth, barely sliding in on that 4th spot.
I just To be honest, this team reminds me of Iowa in 2010. Had everybody coming back from a season in which they went to the Orange Bowl, won it, had a great year. Ricky Stanzi getting hurt in the Northwestern game that year from probably going undefeated. They come into 2010 with so much momentum because all these guys are back. I mean, they ended up going 7-5 because it's just college football. Crazy crap happens. And I just, we're talking about schedule stuff. Same thing with who we just talked about.
NC State.
Well, in terms of where games like line up. If they're playing Florida week 4, I think Utah kills them. It literally is just your first game of the year is going to an environment like that. That does have a new head coach. That's super pumped for football because they've been trash the last year. They were good. Yeah, they were okay 2020.
If they didn't throw that shoe, they probably would have been.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that is just great. I hated that was against LSU because it's like screw them too. But yeah, man, it really is just. I think they just get unlucky here. I think they're just going to have some unlucky bounces.
I look at Florida. The only guy I think who can be a dude there, Emory Jones. Guy's insanely talented at the quarterback position, but I think what he does will get balanced out by Cam Rising. I have a lot of faith in that dude.
I do too. Utah is a better team, and I hope to God they stomp Florida. I hate Florida.
I mean, I just it sucks that they have such lofty expectations to start the year. If they were like, this team's really good, they could be a top 10 team, then maybe it's like, okay, let's show them that we can make that college football playoff push. But now that it's like, we expect you to do that, they could just falter under the pressure.
It's so much pressure. It's so tough. It is so tough. And when you got programs who aren't used to it, regardless of the talent, I don't know. I just got a bad feeling, and that's if that's not the right way to project these things out, that's fine. But I just do not have bad feeling, or I do not have a good feeling. They'll still have a good season, and they'll have a great season for Utah's standards still too. But it's up there. The expectations.
We have 5 more teams, and what better way to talk about those 5 last teams with 1 week to go before college football kicks off. But anyways, Kellen and I have had this talk too on the past couple episodes. Alex, if you are back with us this evening, I'm going to ask you the same questions. Out of the 4 teams we just talked about, which one do you see making a playoff push, and which one do you see that could possibly drop out of the top 25?
I don't think any of those teams are making a playoff push. If I'm just being straight up with you, I don't see it. Just for scheduling purposes. I think the only team in there that I would say would be Notre Dame, but they play Ohio State right off the bat. So I think it's just over. And the problem with that is like Ohio State is going to be up there. So Notre Dame is automatically blocked by one of the teams that are going to be up in there. So I don't see it from any of them. And if falling out of the top 25, honestly, I hate to say it. Utah, man. You
take Utah over Michigan State.
Oh, I forgot we talked about Michigan State. Yeah, Michigan State's getting kicked out. Yeah, no way. Shit. Yeah, no. Sparty's going to be out by week 4. Oh, no, week 5.
Wow.
Week 5.
Wow. Well, just to kind of give you guys a quick rundown of next episode, we have A&M 5, USC 4, Bulldogs 3, guys 2, and good old Roll Tide at number 1.
Rebuilding season, and they still make the national championship game.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, God, we're just going back. God damn it.
God, boys, I'm telling you right now, if we do not make 17 consecutive national championship games and win all of them, every time we don't win, that's a rebuild season. Okay, if I don't have 17 5-star starters, it's a rebuild season.
Yeah, Coach Saban, how do you feel after your 12th straight national championship? Is that rat poison?
Is that rat poison?
That's not 13 in a
I'm gonna go
row.
home and eat my little Debbie cookies.
Alec, it was awesome having you back on, dude. We are so stoked. College football is like just weeks away at this point. I'm so excited. Football does start tomorrow night, though. NFL preseason. I know no one really cares, but hey, last weekend was the last weekend without any football. That's all that matters at this point.
That's true. But we've done this a little bit. I just want to do it at least one more
Don't
time.
do it again.
Talking about a team that is not ranked within the top 25 that at least I believe, could make a push into the top 25. Now, since Alec has been gone, I've been waiting to bring this team out. The Penn State Nittany Lions.
Oh, whoa, wow. What a stretch.
Super surprising, right? Well, I think it's more surprising that they're not in even the too early top 25 list or the coaching poll top 25. When you look around them, they have, once again, a fantastic defense and a much improved secondary, which has always been Penn State's biggest mode of concern. Their defensive line, Malachi Nelson is a unit. Let's just say that. It's a big boy. On offense, you have a much improved offensive line. Still not great. Like you're maybe looking at a top 25, maybe offensive line.
A big jump from the shit they put out there last year.
Exactly. It's just improved. And wide receiver core, Parker Washington is fantastic. And I brought in the guy from Western Kentucky, the guy who was getting balls thrown to him by Bailey Zappi. I forget his name now, but he was a 1,000-yard receiver there last year. And Alec, I mentioned this to you earlier. The biggest concern when it comes to Penn State football over the past 5 years is consistent quarterback play. They've been in close games with just about everyone. They constantly play Ohio State close. If they're not beating Michigan, they're playing Michigan close. If they're not beating Michigan State, they're playing Michigan State close. But they always lose one game they shouldn't because their quarterback play just collapses that game. Now, Sean Clifford is in his 900th season with Penn State. A 95-year-old man is playing quarterback. If he doesn't perform this year, we finally have a guy we can trust behind him in Drew Aller. Our first 5-star quarterback in I think ever. I think Trace McSorley was a 3-star when he got him. I have a lot more faith in the offense this year. Nick Singleton is also a 5-star running back who was expected to start week 1. Body-wise is like Saquon Barkley 2.0. I don't know how well he performs, but just when you look at the guy, he's just a big hoss and he's fast as hell.
And they don't have the Hawks on the schedule this year.
They don't have the Hawks on schedule.
Which is a shame, by the way. It's always a great game.
It's always a great game, 1. And 2, you love to see fans boo a guy who gets injured and start winning and complaining. It's fantastic.
Dude, they smell the rat.
Great class of Iowa Hawkeye fans.
A rat. Well, if your dudes had been going down a billion times before in the game, maybe they wouldn't have freaking booed.
Well, 90% of the guys who went down were out for 6 weeks plus after that game.
Well, it was happening a lot, Kellen. If you have to slow down Iowa's offense, you got bigger problems.
We didn't have to slow. We were up 21-3. We didn't have to slow down Iowa's offense.
Dude, that game's an all-timer. All-timer.
This is why I'm glad we have Alec back. We get Big Ten freaking brotherly love right here. We have a Hawkeye fan, Nittany Lion fan, and then, of course, the random.
Or at least Penn State's
freaking Irish fan. But Notre Dame will be joining the Big Ten within the next 2-3 years. So
they will
keep an eye out.
Walloped.
Probably, but it's all right, though.
I would like to request a week 0 preview at some point so I can say why Nebraska is going to lose to Northwestern.
Oh,
because there really is no reason they should win. And that's all I'll say right now.
No, everyone's like Casey Thompson is the next god. It's annoying. They think everything's gonna change. The one reason they lost games is because Scott Frost does not know how to win a close game.
And let's go across the ocean. Let's go across the ocean with a coach that doesn't know how to organize anything, and play the coach that does know how to organize everything. At
Yeah,
the very end of the day, Pat Fitzgerald's going to at least get that right. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
his team will be prepared to play the football.
Yes, absolutely.
The boys are back. The Cornhuskers weekly talks are back. College football is back. What else could you ask for?
Everything is right in the world.